In 1841, Joseph Smith instituted a second form of baptism, known as baptism for the remission of sins or for the renewal of covenants. This order, as it was called, was officially established in the church when Joseph Smith and Sidney Rigdon baptized each other for the remission of sins. This form of baptism was not for the purpose of entrance into the church or a rebaptism after excommunication. Baptism for the remission of sins and the renewal of covenants may have been practiced unofficially prior to 1841. David Johnson was rebaptized in this manner in 1832 because he felt he had faltered in his original baptismal covenants and lived unworthy of the communion of the sacrament. Precedents for rebaptism can be found in the Savior's second visit to the Nephites, where his disciples were rebaptized at his direction. Elder James E. Talmage, the author of Jesus the Christ, acknowledged that this was a rebaptism. The Church still uses Jesus the Christ as part of its gospel curriculum, with its text accessible on the Church's website. Joseph also instituted another form of baptism, this time for the restoration of health. He introduced the practice at the dedication of the baptismal font of the yet unfinished Nauvoo Temple. He instructed Samuel Rolfe to wash his hands in the font and promised that his felon or abscess would be healed as a result. From then on, the font was used for baptisms for the restoration of health with beneficial effect. Baptisms for health were also conducted in the Mississippi River, notably Joseph baptizing Emma twice in the river in 1842 due to her serious ill health. There is a biblical precedent for the baptism for health. In a letter from the Quorum of 12 Apostles to the brethren scattered abroad on the continent of America, published in the official church newspaper, The Times and Seasons, the apostles informed the brethren that the font was to be used for healing purposes as in ancient times. The reference to the waters troubled by heavenly messengers is a reference to the story of the man with the infirmity of 38 years at the pool of Bethesda. Sometimes both baptisms for the remission of sins and for the restoration of health were combined into one ordinance. The wording of one such baptism, cited in an 1896 First Presidency letter to Temple presidents, combines the remission of sins, the renewal of covenants, and the restoration of health. Between 1877 and 1893, over 20,000 baptisms for health were performed in 4 temples. Gradually over time, the practice of baptism for the restoration of health declined. In 1923, the First Presidency informed temple presidents that these baptisms were not a part of temple work, and were, in fact, contrary to the Lord's will concerning the healing of the sick. Of course, notwithstanding the First Presidency's statement, baptism for the restoration of health had been a full-fledged practice for almost 8 decades. Not one president of the church, from Joseph Smith, who instituted the practice, to Joseph F. Smith, Heber J. Grant's predecessor, had thought the ordinance contrary to the order of the church, and not an acceptable part of the work of the temple. In today's church, neither baptism for the remission of sins, for the renewal of covenants, or for the restoration of health are practiced, nor are they viewed as valid ordinances. Elder Bruce R. McConkie succinctly stated the position of the modern church in his classic Mormon Doctrine.